Welcome to a new season of Footy Rivals. I'm joined with Justin, my co-host here.
We're back, man. It's good to be back, Ryan. I'm excited to.
It's been a long 6 months.
I'm excited we have football.
It almost didn't happen, didn't it?
I mean, it still may not. It still may not for the future. We'll talk about that, obviously. But right now, I'm super excited to just actually be having football to talk about.
Yeah, footy's here.
I never thought I'd be that grateful that it's going ahead. Like, you take it for granted every other season.
It came right down to the wire, didn't it?
Yeah,
it came right down to the wire that it wasn't even going to start.
They left it to the last minute to make that call. So I'm so thankful that we've got footy to at least watch and talk about at least for a week. So I'm pumped to be here, man. It's good.
Yeah. Well, we've just watched the Richmond and Carlton game.
Which Richmond win by 4 goals.
4 goals right in the end there. Right in the last sort of minute that kind of blew out a little bit. I think Carlton got within 15 points within that last quarter, which was probably a bit more exciting than anyone actually thought it was going to.
I think so, yeah.
Admittedly, I did tip Carlton to win.
You did. I tipped Richmond. I went with 32 points. They win by 24, so I wasn't too far off.
Right. Yeah. I think you got a bit closer to that.
But the game, I think the game panned out a way that no one thought it would have.
No.
Like, it was a really weird game. To see Carlton fall, I think it's midway through the third quarter, or early third quarter, we're looking at them falling 50 points behind, to then get within 15 to be within striking distance with something like 10 minutes to play.
Unprecedented.
Total game on. Total opportunity to win the game. Obviously, Richmond was able to stamp their authority on that. But for Carlton to come that far back into the contest, we saw what Carlton are capable of when they're on tonight. We also saw what they're capable of when they are not.
Well, it's you've got the side of two coins really there.
Absolutely.
Which is what Carlton we kind of knew were going to be coming into the season. We didn't know what Carlton were going to be, whether they were going to show improvements under David Teague or whether they would kind of regress a bit or just stagnate. We didn't know, and I'm not really any clearer after having watched that.
Jury's still completely out on them.
Yeah, do we reckon it would have been any different had the quarters been at normal length?
Well, potentially, but the shorter quarters actually, it surprises me even more what Carlton were able to do. If the quarters were at full length, maybe Carlton would have come back. Who knows?
Or maybe they would have been blown out more in the first half.
And they would have been even more demoralised. Yeah, I mean, it's such a weird thing to say. Given the way that it played out, I was super surprised. I said to you before we started the fourth quarter that on a normal night, the 34-point deficit they were facing at the start of the third quarter is probably 40 to 45 points.
Well, yeah.
And they still made it a reachable goal. Quickly, too. There was 10 minutes to play when they brought it within strike.
We were excited. We were like, this is game on.
Finally felt like something could happen here.
Unfortunately, it wasn't the case to be, and Richmond ended up 24 points.
Yeah.
Clear best on ground.
Patrick Cripps.
Without
any shred of a doubt. What did he finish with?
31 disposals.
31 disposals in a normal game at normal length. That's probably likely nearly a 40 disposal game.
Well, it's missing. We've shortened actual proper game length time by about 20 minutes.
Yeah,
thereabouts.
Yeah, so about a quarter.
That's a 40 possession game.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Best on ground, I thought. But like I said to you during the game, that was the clear difference between Richmond and Carlton, was that Carlton's best players were standing out because they were the only players on the team doing anything. You could easily name
the best 5 players for Carlton.
100%.
It's a little bit harder to name the best 5 for Richmond.
Exactly. Prestia probably Richmond's best on ground. In fact, definitely Richmond's best on ground. Yeah. Outside of that, it was just sort of. I think Dustin Martin was right up there, although his numbers probably don't reflect it. But when he touched the ball, good things happen. As tends to happen. But yeah, I think overall it's it was just
Much
a game where
more.
I got no answers.
Yeah.
I don't have any answers to any of the questions that I had going into that game.
We're gonna have to wait until the next round, really, for Carlton.
I mean, it's going to be a weird season for a million other reasons, but even in that regard, I've got, in fundamental play for certain teams, I don't know what
And we want to
expect.
talk about a couple of those other reasons, because some people out there somehow will not know what's happening, not with regards to the outer world and everything.
No,
but
you
with
totally have to be living under a rock for that to be the case, but you're right.
With regards to what's actually happening with the AFL and what they're going to be doing, as we know today, moving forwards with the season. So, obviously, the coronavirus has impacted lifehood everywhere.
Everywhere in the globe.
Especially in Australia, everyone's turned into a crazy maniac with regards to this.
Yes, that's very true. People are just not acting like people right now.
Yeah. It actually amazes me that only 2 months ago, just 1 month ago, we could have the All-Stars Victoria bushfire relief where everyone has donated $7 million in total towards this cause, and then a month later everyone's turned this fell, rabid, selfish.
Well, it's amazing to think the shape of the world. I mean, people who even remembers bushfires right now? You know they rage for months, and who even remembers them? The thing to sort of, I mean, you say a month ago. I mean, we could have looked to 7 days ago, 10 days ago.
Yeah.
The world was a completely different place 10 days ago. So, and that's important to note in terms of talking about the AFL at the moment. It's important for us to touch on that.
Yeah, this is a worldwide.
Yes, and the rapid evolving status of it. I mean, we can be sitting here recording this tonight directly after the Richmond Carlton game.
And by the time that it's actually uploaded tomorrow,
the world could be completely
changed.
And completely different in the AFL. I mean, their stance at the moment with the... obviously, they've shortened the season down to 17 games.
Yeah.
They've shortened quarters down to 16 minutes. They're going to try to cram a bunch of rounds.
Should be 16 minutes plus time on.
Yeah, so that they can cram, say, hypothetically, 5 rounds into 3 weeks.
Yep.
If they can, they want to play as much games as they can while they can.
Will be completely different.
Yeah.
Even teams that are travelling,
it's like a floating different fixture.
Home games may not even be played at your home ground, depending on what's happening. So, for example, one of the examples that was thrown up was that if Fremantle plays, say for example, Fremantle plays in Melbourne, so they play a game in Melbourne against, say, Melbourne. They play their home game in Melbourne, so they don't have to travel. Then they play their next game against Richmond, just so that they have a block of games that they don't have to travel over the course of, say, 2 weeks. And then they go back home after, instead of traveling every 4 days or something like that, they have a block of games in a particular city or town or whatever. And then they go back home for a period of time as well.
It's almost going to look like the NBA schedule where, and I know you don't follow the NBA too much, but it's going to look like that schedule where a home stand, and they do this because they have 82 games, but it's going to look like a home stand is going to be a run of 4 to 5 games, and an away stand is going to be a run of 4 to 5 games where they can get you there. So it's going to be extremely hard for the AFL to juggle this moving forward. But again, to circle back, it's super important we talk about the evolving status of it, for the fact that everything on that AFL stance, the shortened season and all that, could change within a day.
Yeah.
It could change within an hour.
Yeah. We could get news from the AFL saying, yep, this game or this round is going ahead, and then an hour later, something changes to affect that landscape. Yeah.
Which I think a lot of the people gave the AFL a lot of flack for waiting until the last minute to make a call saying, oh, you just want to drag it out as long as possible because you're money grubbing and you want the money so bad and the health of the players doesn't matter. It's like, no, they had to drag this out as long as they possibly could, because if they had made a call on Tuesday, they have no idea what they're doing here. Like, they're the same as the rest of us.
Yeah.
They don't have any inside knowledge on the coronavirus.
And you got to understand as well.
The AFL doesn't have scientists working in labs giving them knowledge on the coronavirus. So for them to have made a call on Tuesday would have been completely ignorant, given the fact that by Tuesday afternoon, their call could have been completely different.
And they've made the decisions that they've made based on the advice, like the close advice of the government and the medical officials within the government and everything as well. They've been making all these decisions based on the advice that's been given to them, directly to them.
Yeah.
To be able to make these kinds of calls. So
absolutely, they're abiding by every information.
Uneducated decisions. These are very highly educated decisions to be able to at least get the season started. And the whether you want to use the fact that they just want to seek out the money and everything and get everything that they can from the TV networks and everything like that. Fact of the matter is, this is still a business, and there are clubs that are being supported by the AFL directly that are only functioning because of the AFL.
Yeah,
that I have absolutely no doubt would not exist after this year if they had no football at all.
For me, it's super interesting that you raise the TV rights deal, because I'm interested to know, like humankind doesn't plan for these things to happen. No. Humankind has never had a plan for this level of disaster or this level of progression just halting in the world around the globe. So, down to that scale, Channel 7 and the AFL probably don't have a plan for what happens when an AFL season is not going ahead. So I'd be interested to know, I mean, there's probably legal teams working around the clock to figure this out, but I'd be interested to know whether there's a clause somewhere in that contract for the TV rights that allows Channel 7 not to be giving the AFL money because they're not airing games. Like, if games are cancelled, does Channel 7 still have to pay the AFL? Is there a clause where the AFL can take them to court and say, hey, you do still owe us this money, or can Channel 7 pull out and go, well, we can't air the product. Why should we be giving you money?
It's going to be, and
that'll be going through courts for months.
It's the same discussions that's happening with the players as well, taking pay cuts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
as well. It's the exact same sort of scenario, just on a sort of smaller scale as well.
I'm sort of a big picture person with that. When I hear the AFL players talking about, oh, we want our 6 games worth of match payments back, or our 5 games worth of match payments back because they're only playing 17 instead of 22. I'm a little bit like, I take my AFL hat off there a bit, and I'm a bit like, well,
yeah,
maybe I don't care so much about the guy that earned $400,000. Like, the average age of the AFL, average wage of the AFL players is somewhere between $350,000 and $400,000.
Something like that. Yeah.
I really don't care if they miss out on their match payments for 5 weeks. I care about the casual worker.
Yeah.
At home who's been quarantined that can't work for 2 weeks, they can't pay their rent. So
it's even the AFL, but the club volunteers, or not necessarily the club volunteers, but even just the admin workers, stuff and all that kind of stuff.
Workers at the stadiums, whether you're in security, you sell food, you sell drinks, you're an usher.
I mean, they're the ones that are put out.
Yeah, exactly. You're an event staff or something like that. Like, it's totally going to... Well, we just watched an MCG... Completely. I think one of the saddest parts for me was when they did the camera pan out of the bar, and came out to an empty stadium, and it's like, just imagine the atmosphere that would have been in that bar on a regular night in the AFL.
Yeah,
like, it's just crazy to think that that's not happening. So,
and then they had to fill the void by having, say, Eddie Betts on the phone, and
Basher Hooley on the phone,
which was really awkward.
It was quite awkward, really different.
Please don't put that up again.
I mean, sort of credit to Channel 7 to trying to fill their way through the dark on this one too. I didn't particularly like that myself, but I do appreciate that they're going to the effort to fill those gaps and do what they can to bring a product to people that, can at least give access to players, access to coaches, whatever they can do. That's great. But I just, in terms of speaking about the big picture stuff, and sort of not caring about the AFL. There's a lot of people saying, oh, it's the AFL, it's only sport, or it's not that important compared to the health of the public. And yes, that's correct. But if you're thinking about the mental health of the public, I think sport at this time becomes super important to people.
Well, not even just this time. You only have to go and actually think about what kind of an impact sport can have on a group of people. And the biggest example that I can think of is going back to World War One.
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
They call a ceasefire on Christmas Day to be able to play some soccer in dead man's land, sort of thing. I mean, that is the kind of impact that sport has on a group of people. People are killing each other, and they still take time out to be able to do something like that. Is an enormous thing in and of itself.
It's the thing, and that's what West Coast coach Adam Simpson he hit on the head in his press conference prior to the AFL's announcement that the season would go ahead. He said, the community needs footy right now. The community needs it. If people are going to be sitting in their homes, quarantined within the 4 walls of their house, and they don't have footy to watch, and it seems like such a minuscule thing in the grand scheme of things, but if I'm sitting at home and I get quarantined and I don't have any football to watch,
I'll tell you what,
I'm going to go insane.
You know what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be giving you a call, Justin, and I'm going to be going, hey, Justin, Netflix and chill.
craziness. I'll pick it up and I'll be like, yep, I'm there. Count me in.
Can't touch you though.
No, not at all. We should be doing our 1.5 meter distancing here.
So
it's kind of why I sent you a message earlier today. And I'm like, hey, are we still on tonight? Because I'm like, you've obviously got children and things like that. And it's like, I mean, it's something that you feel paranoid asking and you feel silly asking, but it's the point we're at where it's like, I don't want to, intrude or bring something to your house. I don't want people to bring it to my house. I'm trying to convince my rental inspector to not come to my house for that reason.
Yeah,
so,
I'm actually surprised that they're still doing that.
Yeah, so it's crazy, but back to the AFL with it. I mean, it's just to see the MCG empty on what would have been a night.
I mean, we couldn't stop saying it in the stream. It was a really surreal thing to watch.
And we can make jokes and say it looks like a North Melbourne game or something like that, but
it's Port Adelaide from 2011.
Yeah,
bring the tarps out.
Exactly, but if you're, if we're being serious for a second, then it's just crazy. There would have been 100,000 fans in that stand, all having the time of their lives. Maybe not Carlton.
Maybe not after half time. Yeah.
But it's just I can't fathom how the rest of the round is going to look too. I'm really interested to see how that's going to look. Different grounds, different teams, all empty. How do teams handle it? What is a home game now if you don't have your home crowd? I mean, that's a huge part of it.
It really balances things out for teams. Like what happens to this noise of affirmation thing, right?
Yeah.
Does West Coast still get favoured at their home ground?
That was a big question. That's been in the media.
It's a really interesting thing.
It's absolutely crazy to think. I mean,
we're in uncharted waters here.
There's still the element of a team having to travel across the country, which makes them uncomfortable at playing at someone else's ground. So there's still that advantage for a team at a home stadium, but there's certainly no momentum advantage.
The advantage is still held within the Victorian clubs because travelling teams are going to be stuck there for a couple of weeks playing a few games in a row,
and having to create training venues on the fly, having to create accommodation on the fly, meals for players on the fly. They're not at home, and that's going to make them really uncomfortable.
Carlton have even offered up Icon Park to play AFL games at.
Yeah.
Just to be able to spread the load on the amount of games that are being played at grounds.
Yeah.
So that, the MCG and Marvel Stadium aren't taking the brunt of it.
Yeah.
Playing so many games in a shorter period of time, the ground is going to be wrecked.
It's probably the benefit of not having, and I mean, this is awful too. I don't want to say it's ever good to not have the VFL or the Waffle or anything going. But if say the Eagles and Dockers both have a stretch where they're in WA and neither travels, one's got Optus Stadium one weekend, and the other's got to go
somewhere else.
Yeah. They come into Mandurah, they go into Joondalup.
Possibly.
Potentially, it's the same in Victoria. Are they going to go out to Ballarat and play more games there? Are we going to see more games in Canberra?
We might have to.
Yeah, 100% that may have to happen. So it's probably, in that sense, for the AFL and for the AFL clubs, a positive that there's no VFL, no Waffle, no junior footy, no country footy going on, so those grounds are available.
And who knows? Round 2 may not even go ahead.
We say that,
and even if round 2,
with complete uncertainty.
let's say for example round 2 doesn't go ahead, we may not. Round 1 might be the only football we get this year.
Exactly.
That's a real possibility.
It's a real possibility that we all sit there, we watch our team play, we get psyched for the next week. And there's no next week.
The carpets, the rugs just pull out.
Which seems almost cruel, but it's just the way the AFL's got to play it. They want their season to go ahead. They will go ahead until the absolute time where they do not have to go ahead, which definitively is probably a player testing positive to coronavirus.
I think they said a player or coach.
Yes, which if they do, I'm winging it here on my memory, so bear with me, but I think they said they would be suspending the league for a minimum 14 days.
Yeah.
I think that's a minimum month.
Possibly.
I think a month buys them enough time to reassess the situation, but I do not think enough would change in 14 days. No. I think across that 14 days, if you get one player test positive,
more people are then going
across
to
that
test.
14 days, you're probably going to get a lot more. And on the 14th day, it will still be climbing likely. So I don't see 14 days being a realistic window to say, hey, we'd be back playing footy. So I mean, that's the doom and gloom for it. Hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, I agree.
It seems inevitable to me, personally. Hopefully I'm completely wrong.
I mean, wouldn't it be something else if the AFL got through this completely unscathed?
I can't see that happening, but
No.
yes, hypothetically, let's treat it like it does that way.
How amazing would that be, though?
That would just be the luckiest thing that the AFL's ever had. But even then, okay, so let's play the scenario out for clubs, and let's talk clubs for a second then, and how this is going to financially hit them, which we haven't touched on yet.
Nope.
Let's say it does play out, and no player or personnel, staffer, coach, anyone tests positive to the coronavirus at all for the entirety of that 17-game season and finals. The hit that they are still going to take financially
is what the AFL was talking about, yeah.
The hit that those clubs, particularly vulnerable clubs and smaller clubs, are going to take financially, I'm afraid to see the impact of that. No one's actually outlined what the possible impacts could be on that. No one's actually sat down and gone... Like, there's been articles about how much money they're going to lose out on and which clubs are going to be most vulnerable.
These operating costs are still there. They don't change.
No, not at all. Not at all. It doesn't change it. To hold a game is the exact same as whether you're letting fans through the gate or not. Exactly. You're just not getting the money from the fans, you know? You may pay some less stadium stuff and things like that, but those costs are minimal compared to what you actually spend to put the game on. And I'm afraid to see what the ramifications of that are going to look like.
It's going to be very... I'm interested to see what the AFL will be in 2021.
Oh, that's the most interesting part of this for me. I can get a gauge on what it's going to look like in 2020. I mean, it's either not going to go ahead, or if it does, it's going to look like it did tonight.
What's it going to look like in 2021?
2021 and beyond is what's really terrifying for the AFL to have to stomach, because the AFL themselves, the board of directors, the chairman and all that, well, they're going to have to bail out these clubs. It's going to come to them. It's not going to come to anyone else. They're eventually going to knock on the door of the government and say, hey, can you open up your coffers, please? And the government may give some assistance, but the amount of people that the government are going to have to give assistance to, the AFL's a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
So eventually the buck is going to stop with the AFL pulling its own clubs out, and I just don't know what capacity the AFL has to do that after they will also be taking a huge hit this season.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be very interesting.
It's just crazy to think about how much.
I have a feeling maybe some of the richer clubs may offer some
or be asked to assist.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if the AFL knocks on the doors of the Collingwood Football Club and says, "Hey, come on."
Well, you've got Collingwood, Richmond, West Coast,
and then
those are your three top clubs.
Yeah, and we may see clubs like the Bulldogs or St Kilda or Brisbane or Gold Coast indebted to those clubs in future years. They may have to be paying off debt for years and years to come to those clubs, to the AFL, to government officials and bodies. It's just going to accrue loads of debt. I don't know. I mean, we can't speculate at what's going to happen because
such
we just
an unknown entity.
Like, it's just crazy to try to even fathom what could happen to those clubs in 2021. It's really terrifying.
It's an unprecedented territory that we're in right now. That's how much we just cannot wrap our head around what this is and what it's going to do.
Yeah. By the time it's under wraps, everyone living in the world right now will be able to look back at this time and be like, nothing will ever be as crazy as the coronavirus again. Nothing will ever be... I mean, something might be.
Well, you say that, yeah.
But we will be able to look back on this and go, I remember living through the time of the coronavirus. Well, in 20 to 30 years, when we're older and, we're looking back and we're telling our kids or our grandkids.
You only have to go back 100 years ago and people were probably saying the exact same thing about the Spanish flu.
Yes, absolutely they would have been.
And 100 years later, the same thing is happening to the world.
Yeah, and it's just crazy to think about, but it's come at a time where we are so much more advanced, yet in the exact same position as when it happened, And it's just so, for sporting leagues and for the AFL, it's just such uncharted territory. It's just so hard to navigate. I mean, think about the community implications. Think about the amount of PR workers at AFL clubs who come up with ideas to get their players out in the community to create some good publicity. And yet, it may be for publicity, but it's still very, very good community initiatives.
Yeah.
And the players love doing it. They always enjoy it. So that just goes away. Like youth programs that say hypothetically, the Carlton Football Club runs a youth program that keeps kids off the street for 3 nights a week. It's gone. You're not allowed to do it because of social distancing and things like that. So down to those minuscule things at clubs that they just do off their own goodwill, they're gone. And it's crazy to think they're going to have to restart that stuff. They're going to have to find a way to get people back to that stuff.
Yeah.
So the way it's going to affect is just,
it's unprecedented.
Yeah. We will all be watching, and every AFL fan in the country and every person in the country really is going to be watching both equally horrified and equally fascinated for the next 12 months.
Yeah. Yeah. For the next month.
Yeah,
for the next week, for the next 6,
we're hanging on for news to come. It's
the only way that you could describe it is it's interesting to see what is happening.
Yes, like it's fascinating. Tonight, I was depressed that no one could be in the stands and the atmosphere wasn't the same, but I was also fascinated to see what it would look like.
Yeah, I was elated that footy is back in such a weird atmosphere as well.
It was nice when Carlton made that run in the third quarter because we actually, we
started getting up about it.
I forgot about the crowd for a while. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is a good game of football. And we started to forget about things. I mean, someone would kick a goal and you'd see a ball bouncing around in empty stands and it'd be like, okay, I remember.
See one guy chasing after it going, give me the ball.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, just really, really.
Well, we should move on to the bulk of what Footy Rivals mostly is, and that's our talking about the teams, talking about the games that are coming, and most importantly, our tips and our certainties.
Yes, in which case I am up 1-0 already.
If we have a quick look, now we will be keeping an actual tally of our tips this year. Obviously, last year we started Footy Rivals about a quarter of the way through the year, so we didn't keep a tips tally. But this year we are keeping a tips tally between Justin and myself.
Yep.
If you want to join in and tell us what your tips are compared to what our tips are, then by all means do that in the comments below. We're going to be doing Footy Rivals generally on a fortnightly basis now, but we will be keeping a total tips across the entire year tally, and we will be doing certainties for every single round as well.
Absolutely.
And having a total tally for that as well. So we got to work out what our 50-50 games are. Bulldogs, Collingwood, is that 50-50? Or is everything in round 1 on the table?
I actually think everything in round 1's on the table because the only one I wouldn't have called 50-50 is the one that just played out, was Richmond Carlton.
Fair enough.
I can't see any others, like maybe Gold Coast, Port Adelaide, but even then it's Gold Coast at home and in the early rounds of the season, they're always pretty handy.
They are.
So,
all right, well, we'll keep everything. Round 1, new season, new teams, new structures, everything.
West Coast Melbourne is the only other one where I look at and go, maybe it's not 50-50, but I don't know. Maybe Melbourne's good.
I mean, if you want to go that route, sure.
I'm not going to be backing Melbourne, no.
If that's still open, then I'm going to be backing it.
That's
so
fine.
If you want to leave that open to me.
Let's keep it open. Go on, let's do it.
All right, so we got the first, well, not the first game, but the first game from now. Western Bulldogs take on Collingwood. It's at Marvel Stadium. Don't know how much that means. The ground does play a little bit.
It's still something.
Factor.
It's still something. It's just not as much without the crowd.
Who you reckon's got this?
I am going to go with Collingwood, only on the basis that when it comes to round 1, it's so hard to make these tips that I'm just tipping who I think the better team is.
Right.
And I think the better team is Collingwood.
That's interesting, because I think the Bulldogs are a better team on Marvel.
Well, that could be true.
They've also had a longer preseason than what Collingwood have had, which generally equals up the competition for the first 3 or 4 rounds.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, I think the Bulldogs get over Collingwood purely because it's at Marvel. If this was played at the MCG, this is Collingwood all day.
Yeah, I'm still going to stick with Collingwood. I think their talent. I expect a huge year from Collingwood. So
really,
yeah, with the season, if the season goes ahead, I expect a huge year, just because look at what they were able to do last year with a ton of injuries.
That's true.
I talked about it on our season preview stream that we did with Joel, and I just think what they can do with a healthy list, what they can do with guys like Stevenson back in the frame full time, I just think they're going to be really tough for opposition teams to stop. I think their midfield's still absolutely sublime. They've got Brodie Grundy, who's arguably the best player in the competition, if you want to make that argument.
It's there to be made.
Yeah, it's there to be made. It's there to be reasoned with. And Yeah, I'll go the Pies in this one by about a 3-goal margin.
Right. Yeah, no, I've got the Dogs, and I reckon the Dogs are going to run over the top of them. Although this change in the quarters is going to throw me.
It makes it super hard to guess what a margin's going to be.
Yeah, no, I think the Dogs are going to get up 24 points.
All right. Okay.
I feel pretty comfortable with that as well.
It's a fair tip. The Dogs could easily do that. I think the Dogs are going to have a good year. So, definitely.
Next game is the Bombers take on your beloved Fremantle. It is being played at Marvel Stadium.
Yes, it's like 10:45 in the morning our time.
This is it starts at 11:10 our time.
Also, it's 11:10 our time.
11:10. Yeah. This is a true 50-50 game.
This really is, because this is two teams that you expect to be around the same mark come round 17. You know.
Do you know what? I'm going to back in Freo here.
So am I.
I think Freo can get up. I don't rate the Bombers much.
The good thing for Freo is that the injury clouds hanging over Luke Ryan and James Aish have been cancelled out, so they're going to play.
Yep.
They didn't play in that last preseason game, just as sort of niggle injuries, but they've healed up. Freo will be without their two best backmen in Hamling and Pearce, but Griffin Logue looks ready to stand up and take that.
He looked very good in the March series.
I think he's got a great mix of being able to take a tall and a small, and he'll likely be asked to guard medium to smaller forwards in Essendon's forward line now, unless who are they going to run with as their main forward? It's going to be either Hooker or McKernan, right?
It's actually interesting.
Depending with what they want to do.
Who
that's sort of
the Bombers are playing in their forward line, actually.
Yeah, if you go teams. Yeah. So
the Bombers are playing in their forward line. Stringer, Townsend, McDonald, Timberwoody, Smith, Laverde, Fantasia.
So if you go with that, it's like he's probably going to be guarding Stringer, but Stringer's going to move into the midfield a lot. So he may find himself guarding, Fantasia or whoever. Maybe like Smith will get guarded by someone like a Luke Ryan or something, or an Ethan Hughes. It's really hard to tell what Griffin Logue's going to do, but I think he's got the capacity to do either of that.
Possibly, yeah.
And also just... I have higher hopes for Freo, which is really weird because usually I'm very pessimistic ahead of the season on my own team. Rightfully so the past few seasons.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel good about Freo. I feel that what they showed in the preseason is that they're going to be more attacking, which at times is going to get them burnt.
But geez, they looked very scrappy, didn't they?
Yeah, the skills were still a worry, but it's been a worry for 25 years. We should be
I think Freo will get up. I think Freo will get up by 5 points.
Yeah, all right. I'll go Freo 14 points. Just add an extra goal and a bit onto that.
Essendon, any chance at all?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Like, I think Essendon's... Because everyone expects Essendon to be the team that was in the 8 that doesn't make the 8 anymore, I think they've been somewhat underrated. I think a lot of people are very, very down on Essendon, and I'm sort of asking myself...
I just don't know where they get their improvement from, though.
Yeah, that's a fair question to ask, but I also don't know how big the slide's going to be. A lot of people are tipping the slide to be like, oh my God, they're 15th or 16th. I think around 11.
I don't think they're going to be worse, but I just think teams around them are going to be better. And they don't make that same improvement, and that's where their slide comes from.
It's totally fair to say. I could absolutely buy into that theory. I just think a lot of people... are treating Essendon as if they're almost basket cases. Obviously, probably not either of us. I think we still sort of take them seriously enough to the point where we recognise what on their good day a midfield can do. Maybe. Do you? Maybe not. I do. I think their
midfield's okay, but their back line and their forward line is...
Yeah, their bookends of the ground are pretty bad. So that's why I'll go with Freo in this game. I just don't think... I don't think Essendon are completely out of it. Particularly, that's round 1 and they're at home. Anyone's a shot in that case.
Next game on Saturday is Adelaide Crows take on the Sydney Swans at Adelaide Oval.
Battle of two teams I expect to be near the bottom of the ladder.
Actually, I'm very interested to see.
I don't rate either of these teams. These are maybe the teams that I am underrating. But
am I misreading that? Buddy Franklin's not in the team.
You are not misreading that. He is not. So I will go with the Adelaide Crows to win this game.
Yeah, I'm going to give this to the Crows as well. I'm not sure, actually, because the Crows are very young, whereas I see that Sydney have a young team at the moment. or their core players that they're trying to build up are very young.
Yeah.
But they've had a few years in the system now.
Yeah, they're getting to the point where their young players aren't. You don't look at them and go, "Oh, their young players are first and second year players. They're going to be terrible." Their young players are now fourth, fifth year players. Like I don't know how long Will Hayward's been in the league, or Ollie Florent, guys like that. They'd be reaching around 4 years. You know, Tom Patley. We know how good he is now. Like he's a very effective player.
Yeah.
We know Isaac Heaney's very good.
Yeah.
We have split opinions on Callum Mills. Yet I'm not ready to think he's terrible. I just don't think. I think you think more of him than I do.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to admit that he's still a pretty good player. I just don't think he's that good. But
I don't think he's like superstar.
Oh no, by no means. But
this year could be the year he breaks out though. I'm hoping.
Could be. I mean, he needs to just be injury free, doesn't he? So that's a big part of it. But I'm gonna go with the Crows. I still don't hate the Crows. Like I hate the blend of what they have, but the talent of what they have isn't bad. If that makes any sense to you, like I hate that Matt Crouch, Brad Crouch, and Rory Sloane are all in the same midfield.
Yeah.
But I like all three of them as players.
Yeah.
So it's really weird. Like, I don't know. Game plan and system-wise, maybe that doesn't work out. But hey, new coach, maybe he gets it to work. Maybe he throws someone else in the middle that we didn't think about very often before. Who knows? So, I don't know. Like, they're probably in a bit of a predicament that way. I like Riley O'Brien, had a great year last year. So, I think it's going to be him and probably Sam Naismith in the ruck, is it? Naismith would be back for Sydney.
Yes.
So,
I'm pretty sure he's named.
I think he is.
I'm fairly certain he's named.
So
do you know what I'm going to do, though? I'm going to throw a wrench in the spanner.
A wrench in the spanner? Okay. Tell me how you're throwing a wrench in the spanner.
Whatever the saying is. I'm going to go Sydney.
Okay.
I'm going to make it a certainty.
Sydney a certainty?
Yeah.
On the road?
And I actually think they're going to thrash Adelaide to the tune of about 40 points.
So who do you see being the focal point of that thrashing? Who?
Well, they got Sinclair in there.
Yeah,
Sinclair's back in, and he's
actually very. Sinclair.
He's a very good player.
Yeah, he's a very good player. A very great ruckman. I really enjoy him.
Who's not? Is Sinclair in? Wait, hang on. I have to actually see this.
Well, they're starting Naismith, which leads me to believe maybe not. But
no, I thought I saw his name, though. I must be wrong. Well, I might be wrong there. They're playing Heaney out of the full forward too.
See, I just don't know if that's going to be like...
They've got Sinclair as an emergency, whereas I think Sinclair should be playing in the forward line as a backup to Naismith.
Yeah. Because
Sinclair is actually a pretty good forward, so I don't know why he's being played as an emergency.
He's not bad. He's not that kind of ruckman where you look at him and go, he just could never be a forward. Because there are a lot of ruckmen like that.
He's a good forward.
But yeah, he's good. He takes a good grab. He's got a half-decent skill set on him. I will refute your call that it's going to be a total thrashing. If you're going to tip Sydney, I'm not going to call you insane.
I'll still tip Sydney, and I'll keep it my certainty, but I'm not sure about the thrashing now. I thought Sinclair was at least going to be playing.
Well, I'll tip the Crows. Definitely won't make them my certainty, but I will tip the Crows. They're at home. It's a bit of a toss-up game. So I just think the talent, like I said, the talent they've got is good. They just need to find a way to make it work with each other.
Next game is Gold Coast Suns take on Port Adelaide up at Carrara, or Metricon. This is an interesting game.
This is super interesting.
Port Adelaide have a lot riding on this, but they have some injuries to some key personnel as well.
Well, who's injured there?
Well, I'm pretty sure Lysette's out.
Yeah, you might be right there.
No, that's the wrong game. Who do we got? We said we weren't going to go through the teams, but we're going through the teams.
No, we're having a look at them anyway.
Lysette is in, actually.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go. And you'll get to see his big dirty mode.
So have they got any of their young kids debuting? Any Bergman or Georgiades?
I mean, this isn't going to tell me who debuts.
Yeah, have they got, just looking through there, at the forward line?
Butters.
Gray, Rosie, Palpin. It doesn't look like it. I can't see Bergman anywhere on there. I can't see Georgiades.
Bonner's playing. That's interesting.
Oh, Georgiades is playing. He's on the interchange bench. So that'll add some forward. I mean, maybe not because it's his debut, but they're hoping that'll add some forward firepower for them. Are they named Ebert as their full forward? They have.
They've put David Swallow in the forward line.
There's some weird things happening here.
Why would you not put him on the ball?
Yeah, I don't know. Who is on the ball for them? Greenwood.
Miller, Weller, Greenwood. which isn't a bad starting
It's
line.
not too bad. And they'll run Will. It's actually quite deep because you think of they'll run Rao there eventually, and then they've got Will Brodie and David Swallow there. I'm going to tip the Suns.
That's interesting. I'm going to tip Port Adelaide.
Well, I like the Suns.
Charlie Dixon's first preseason, I think, ever.
Yeah, it's a big difference maker. I mean, he's kind of the guy that does make the difference for them. I just think the Suns, I think it's been like 4 years in a row now where they've started the season well.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
they start the season on fire and then they
I'm
just
gonna
drop
tip
off
them,
a cliff.
I'm just going to tip them to do that again. And I think that they can do that. I think that they've built something good. So I actually think the Suns will be full of confidence.
You're going to slap it down?
No, definitely not. Not on the Gold Coast Suns. I'm not picking them as my certainty.
On.
You nearly got me sucked in there. I was feeling the hype of it. I was like, oh, do I just do it?
You've got to put it down. You go. Oh.
No.
You've hyped them right up.
No,
but you haven't backed them in.
I won't back the Suns in for my certainty, but I will back them in to win. I think they can get it done. I think they're actually going to be full of confidence. They'll end up getting a reality check somewhere along the way. 2 points. Because it's like one of those...
you've really built them up there.
Well, it's going to be one of those weird games where...
You've really pegged them up, right? You've put them right up the top tier, and then you've backed out, and you've just gone, oh, no, well, maybe not quite top tier, and then 2 points. You're just like, Well,
I was trying to think about it in my head. I was like, I don't think it's going to be like one of those like 14, 15-point games or anything. I'm just going to back them by 2 points and say... Like, weirdly, the Gold Coast Suns have the most exciting game of round 1. I think that's what's going to happen.
No, I think Port Adelaide will get up by about 18 points.
Yeah, and that's also fair enough.
Yeah.
Dixon kicks a bag of goals? Or...
I think so, yeah. I don't think the Suns have a strong back line.
They got Sam Collins and Rory Thompson, I think, hold down the 2 key back spots, which...
Yeah. No, I think
Rory Thompson's going to come off injury, and Sam Collins is admirable but not great.
I don't think Ben King's strong enough to be able to hold that forward line by himself.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I do actually rate the Suns a fair bit. I think they'll get. I think they'll get about 6 or 7 wins this year, but not against Port Adelaide.
Okay, I can get on board with that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to back the Suns by 2 points. So that moves us on to...
Next game is GWS versus Geelong Cats, and this is at Giants Stadium.
Yeah.
This is going to be an interesting game.
I'm backing the Giants, I can tell you that immediately. In fact, I'm backing the Giants as my certainty. They're my certainty.
No, I mean, with that game on the table, why wouldn't you?
I've
gone an actual 50-50 game. I'm not sure you have.
Geelong were the minor premiers. They made prelim final. How much are they going to drop off? I tip
a lot.
Drop
yeah,
off
a lot. Yeah,
but
a lot.
Still,
you've gone the safe bet here.
I know, but how is the safe bet against the minor premiers? That's how much we're anticipating them to drop off, and it's not just us.
Wow,
it's everyone.
Well, let's be fair. Your mob were minor premiers in 2015, and they
did we?
Did they?
We got 3
was
wins.
2016 even a year for them?
No. No, we might as well have. It might as well have been our coronavirus year. It was awful. We lost our first 10. I remember.
GWS will win this, and they're going to win this pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I just trust everything that they do. I trust everything that they've got on the field. There's not one area in their 18 players on the field and 4 on the interchange that you can point to and ask me to be...
if Taranto was playing.
Oh, yeah, but even then, him missing doesn't faze me. It's almost like he becomes a luxury at this point. Like, getting him back is going to be luxurious for a team that has this kind of depth.
If he comes back for finals,
because they're going to, like, replace him with... I think Tom Green has been named for his debut. And I have real faith that he's going to be a very, very good player. One of his preseason games was something like 22 touches and 2 goals. I mean, it was their thrashing of Sydney, and everyone really got that. But I think, like, he's going to be another fine. He'll be like Taranto, and he'll be like when guys like remember like Jacob Hoppett's like first few games were just insanely good. He's still a good player, but like he's going to come on like that. They just find young kids that have immediate impact.
To be fair, they don't find these kids. They kind of fall into their lap through the system. Yeah,
the AFL finds them young kids that are going to be dominant. So I think Green will probably come in and play, not the Taranto role, but have an impact that can at least give what Taranto may have given. There's like I said, there's no area in the team that you can point to and expect me to call a weakness.
No.
Whereas Geelong, there's a few.
Yeah. I'm happy with that call.
Jack Stevens not going to play, is he? I don't think he's in.
Let's have a look.
Is Jenkins will be playing?
Okay, so nope, Stevens not in.
Yeah, so
Jenkins is an emergency. That's interesting.
An emergency. Okay, so who's their forward line? Who are they running?
Forward line
Hawkins
is
and Myers.
Hawkins and Radical in the pocket. So
oh yeah, okay, so they still have two tools.
yeah. I don't mind their forward line.
Yeah,
it's interesting that they don't
okay.
play Jenkins though. Look, I don't hate their team, but I do think that their team is just too old.
Yeah, I could totally agree with that. I think in key areas their team is too old, and I think the youngsters had a good year last year, but someone's got to step up and fill Tim Kelly's spot. No one really, everyone's talking about how good Tim Kelly as a game can be for West Coast. No one's talking about how bad he can be as a loss for Geelong.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to absorb this easily.
He filled a hole for Geelong.
Yeah.
He made Duncan a better player.
He had a blend of inside and out where they could just be like, okay, in this particular matchup, this is what we are lacking. Tim, this is your role today. That's your role. They can't do that with anyone else. They can't be like, hey, we need a bit of outside speed. Hey, Jack Steven, can you go on a wing? They can't do that. That's not going to work. They can't do that with Duncan, probably. It won't have the same impact doing that, No. So it's just really hard for them to replace a player that gave them what Kelly did. I think that's being understated in the lead up to the season. So yeah, definitely GWS for me in this game. Certainty. Slapping it down.
I mean, I hate it because it's such a cop out, but I don't hate the call. Yeah.
Yeah. Moves us on.
Sunday, North Melbourne take on St Kilda. This is a really impossible game to do.
Effectively, no change in crowd number for this game. No one would have come to watch this.
That's a big call. Where's it being played? Marvel, eh?
Yeah.
Saints will get this for me. I don't rate North's team this year.
No, neither do I. But I haven't rated North for some time, and that North proves me wrong more than anyone else because I am always very vocal about how much I don't rate North, and then they'll come out of nowhere and even a 9th place finish is still far more than
They shouldn't have even made a prelim and stuff.
What they finished last year? They finished 10th or 11th last year.
They finished 9th last year.
It's still way further ahead than I had them.
Yeah.
So they still made me look kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it again. I think they're terrible. Ben Brown's injured, so is he playing?
Well, he was supposed to be pretty early on in the season, so he is playing. Yeah,
he is playing. Forward. Okay, well that will help them.
He's had a very interrupted preseason. So
yeah, I just don't. I think the Saints need to win too. We were talking about this before tonight. I mean, it's so weird that the expectations on the Saints are so high, and that's internal expectations from fans. They're coming from their own fans expecting something when they haven't had anything to enjoy for nearly a decade now, and it's just they need this win.
Yeah.
They need to win first time, and I think they'll be hungry for it. Hey, I think Brad Hill will be hungry to make an early impact. I think guys like Jack Billings will be hungry to show that he's a really, really good player. Can he be a great player? I think there's a lot of guys out there that'll be really, really keen on the Saints to show what they can do. I don't actually rate the Saints to the point where I think that will last, but I do think that early on in the season they will be good.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say the Saints.
Yeah, I'm interested in this game just to see what the Saints can do. I'm not interested in North.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, North.
Yeah, this is a very anti-North show right now. And we're probably not the only show.
Moving along. Hawks take on the Brisbane Lions at MCG, is it? The MCG. This is an interesting game.
This is probably outside of the Freo
Essendon Mitchell
one.
Actually back in? Because
surely,
I
think
thought
he was.
I read somewhere that he may not. He is.
He's in.
I tell you what, this is going to be a very, very interesting game because I quite rate Hawthorn this year.
I expect Brisbane to take a half step back. I'm going to call it a half step.
I expect them to basically play very similar to what they did last year.
Yeah.
Which is not going to continue to propel them forwards. they'll stagnate a little bit while some other
Yeah.
teams figure them out and stuff. So I see them losing just a couple more games this year and then really bringing it together next year.
Yeah. So, with that said, I also want to see Hawthorn just for the fact of, hey, Tom Mitchell is back. What does that do to your game plan? What is it? Because,
I mean,
there's no player like
Brisbane haven't played Hawthorn at the MCG for quite a long time.
Right, I did not know that.
The last 2 times that Brisbane have beaten Hawthorn as a Hawthorn home game has been down in Tasmania, which in and of itself is actually a big thing to do as well.
Yeah.
Right? But Brisbane don't play Melbourne, don't play in Melbourne very well. They don't play the MCG very well at all. I think Hawthorn get this.
Yeah.
By probably about 26 points.
I'm going to go the Hawks too, just because I think this is a year where Brisbane won't travel well for some reason. I don't know why I think that. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I think they're going to probably play their best footy at the Gabba quite clearly.
Yeah.
And I think that the away footy might not match up to that standard. So,
well, I mean, that's kind of what happened last year.
Yeah. And I get the feel that that's only going to...
They're still a young team. They're still a young teteam.
Yeah, I mean, they got even young. They lose Hodge, really. So their average age is probably...
Well, they get Stratton in for...
Birchall.
Birchall for Hodge.
Yeah, true. Okay, yeah, that's probably makes sense. Makes up for it. But yeah, I'll go the Hawks. I'm really interested to watch the Hawks and just see, because there's no player in the league that's like Tom Mitchell. So to see what he does for them and how Birchall, they sort of shift their game plan around that, I'll be interested
too.
Oh, Birchall's in. Okay, cool.
He's on the halfback.
What a nice first game for him to be at Brisbane against the Hawks. So Hawks for me.
Yeah, Hawks for me as well.
Yeah, that takes
Which
us
leads us to the last game of the round.
Your team,
West Coast takes on Melbourne.
They do. This would have been the only game outside of the GWS Geelong one that I could have locked in as a certain, and been more.
And I was going to do it, right?
Yeah,
but
you did say you were going to do it.
I decided that I'd actually, keep the spirit of our certainties.
God, this is going to look awful if Geelong win. This is going to look terrible. But, anyways, West Coast, Melbourne.
West Coast.
Yeah, West Coast for me.
Pretty comfortably for me too.
I'm not interested to see West Coast play because I know who they are. I know what they are. They're not different in any way except they got Tim Kelly. So, I'm interested to see what Tim Kelly is in their system.
That's better. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate those kind words.
I'm very interested to see what Melbourne is with Ed Langdon added in for extra
I'm just
run.
very interested. Not even the additional players that they brought in and everything. Ed Langdon. Yeah. I'm just interested to see what Melbourne comes out.
Yeah, they've got to be
2018 or 2019.
Because the problems they made last year, and this is probably a very fan thing to say where you think you know what you're doing as a coach or something like that, and really you're just an armchair critic. But the problems they had last year seem so obvious that surely they're going to look very different from what they were. Like, surely Angus Brayshaw's not going to play on a wing, and surely they're going to figure out what that stagnation was through the midfield, and surely they're going to figure out how, or they've been working hard at least, to figure out how to convert off centre clearances. Like, all those sorts of things were huge glaring errors, like areas of stress for them last year.
Yeah.
I just think they would have put some serious focus into them, and if they can fix those things, there's nothing to say they can't be a much better team. Particularly with Ed Langdon to add that speed as well as an additional player. He butchers the ball, which is not going to help them converting centre clearances probably.
However, he is going to have a lot more midfield help.
Yeah.
Compared to what he had at the Dockers.
Yeah. Well, he never played midfielder though. He was just straight wing.
Yeah.
He never ran through the middle, but
to be fair, the ball that he was getting wasn't quality ball from his midfield.
Although, if you go back and watch Ed Langdon, he didn't need any kind of quality. If he got any kind of ball, it was like he does this weird thing where at least 3 times a game he kicks it off the inside of his heel as if he's like some sort of soccer player, and it's awful. So I'm really happy that's not at Freo anymore. But yeah, interested to see Melbourne. Think they're gonna lose by 8 goals.
Yeah,
because I think West Coast is really, really good.
We'll see. Their Marsh form wasn't particularly dazzling, but in saying that, they didn't lose by big margins. They were thereabouts, and they were just coasting for both of those games. So
yeah, exactly. Like I got
not too stressed about them.
Could not care any less about West Coast Marsh series form.
That's fair.
I couldn't care.
Yeah,
any less about
I
it.
think that's the general consensus of
Yeah.
West Coast at the moment as well. So
Yeah, there's nothing that they can do to make me worry about that. So, yeah, West
That's,
Coast. For me.
that's our tips.
Is that all our games?
that's
Okay.
our tips. Yeah.
Alright.
We'll see how
I think we have a
well
few different in there. So
we'll see how well we tipped this round.
I'm already up 1-0. Catch me if you can, man. Like, I'm out. I'm done.
We'll see.
Just call it quits already.
All right. We'll see.
But if
Once
Geelong
I
win, I'm
stop
screwed.
getting out my stupid early season, this team's good, but they're really not tips. We'll see how we go.
Everyone has those reality.
I'll give you an
crashes.
early lead, and then I'll just reel you back in.
Everyone's got those really big reality crashes in this season where you're like, I've got this one or these two tips or these two teams that I think are going to be way different to what everyone else thinks, and this is why I'm a genius and this is great. And then the season happens, you're like, oh no, they still shit.
Yeah, no, I wasn't as
Damn it.
genius as I thought I was. Sorry,
Yeah,
my bad.
yeah, could be multiple things for me this year.
But that's us.
that's
This
us.
year
This was
is
fun
going to be
again.
very, very interesting.
Hopefully, we've got some footy next week. Obviously, this is all done under the presumption that footy continues.
Yeah.
We know as much as you guys. We'll wait and see. We'll wait to hear the news.
Yeah.
And we'll cross our fingers.
Yeah,
And, hope that the news is
and
good.
we'll try and keep you updated as we go as well.
Yeah.
If you do want to keep updated and you don't want to be following the AFL website and apps and everything, then make sure you do follow us on Discord. The link is in the description below. We do talk about this. We tend to talk about this actually behind closed doors in the mod chat. More than
we
do
really
open
should
chat.
get in the general chat more. So we'll
But
endeavour to do that.
if you do want to hear about some of the news and some of the big news that comes through, then make sure you follow us on Discord. If you did like what you see here and you want to see more of it, then make sure you do subscribe, hit the bell, and like the video. If you do like the video and don't do anything else, then it does actually help us and help you be able to see more videos of us when they do come up. That's how YouTube works. It's a weird thing, I know, but
which hopefully is what you guys want.
if you like a video and you actually hit the like button, you'll see more of our content whether you subscribe or not. So if that's what you want to do, then make sure you do.
Absolutely. Please do go ahead and give us that like. And also on to give one last bit on the coronavirus. Even if the league doesn't go ahead, there's going to be a ton of news coming out of every single angle. So I'm sure we'll have something to talk about.
And we will be covering it all.
Yeah, there'll be something going on. So rest assured, we'll still be here. But that's us, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Justin.
Excellent.
Tune in for round 1.
No worries. Thanks, guys. And hopefully Ryan's tips are all terrible. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.